welcome to Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. And I did go to Detroit last weekend, and I bought some books at a very cool bookstore that I'll talk about. I bought 2 books because I couldn't resist. We'll get to that. Also, figure skating's back. It's just for this weekend, but I have already watched the shorts program for the girls, and I still have more of the pairs to watch. I'm just waiting for the replay to go up. And yeah, I am delighted. It's like, literally, if I could just always grade while having figure skating, my life would be fantastic. It's like the perfect palate cleanse. Watch a thing for 3 to 4 minutes. Grade while they talk in the background. Watch a thing. Like, it's amazing. Fantastic. Finishing things. I think I really have only finished a few novellas, and I've been working on some stuff. Like, I've made good progress, and now I'm at the end of the month, so like, although I don't do monthly wrap-ups anymore, I'm kind of looking at my intentions at the start of the month and going, so what do I want to wrap up? And I'm almost done with one thing I'm in the middle of, and some of the other things I need to spend some time with, but you know, life happens. So let's just talk about the Shauna Maguire, because I read 2 of those and I'm in the middle of another one, so let's just talk about the Wayward Children, just for like a second. Because I know one day I'll make a, should you read the Wayward Children? It's because I've now read 5 of the 10 of them? 12 of them? I don't know. There's a lot of them. Like, there's an obscene amount of these novellas. So last week I was talking about how I read Heart is a Doorway. Which, like, I actually really like that novella. I just don't know how I feel about it being the first novella. Obviously, don't know how these ideas came to her, and you can't control the order in which creativity strikes an author, but like, having read the second one, I think that should have been the first one. Like, I think I have strong opinions on, if I could do it over again, I would have read the second one first. I don't dislike the second one, but I do feel like the second one feels repetitive and trite and not that much going on, because you already know where it's going after the first book, and you already know their backstory after the first book. It's just a longer version of what you know about Jack and Jill. And like, I don't know. I think I find Jack and Jill more interesting in the aftermath of their world than in their before and during their world. You're also not really getting to spend more time with them in a weird way. Like, I had more time with them in the first novella. Like, it's very much whenever you're in the books that are like the worlds, you're not as close to the characters. It's more like the, I don't know, Ella enchanted voiceover person. It's a fairy tale, and you're getting that kind of distance sort of thing within the Portal world. And I liked Jack and Jill. Well, I like Jack. I'm on the fence about Jill. Which I think is the point, maybe. Or maybe some more nuance needed to be put into Jill's character. But like, I don't love Jill that much. I don't know if that's a hot take. But Jack is fascinating to me. And maybe I relate more to Jack and stuff like that. And maybe that's part of it. So the worlds themselves are all kind of fun. So that one, I guess, if you want to get into Wayward Children, I say read the second one first. And then you go read the first one. The third one definitely takes place after the first one. So I think the general vibe is it's one book our world, one book somewhere else, and hop around. I have tended to enjoy the in our world parts more, and I think that's because you get to be closer to the characters, because the interesting thing is not the world, the interesting thing are the human interactions when they don't have their world. That's my hypothesis. How to talk about this one? There are things that happen in the first book that you think are permanent and are not. That's how I would phrase that. And like, in general, there are different types of worlds, and there are things called nonsense worlds, and nonsense worlds are nonsensical. And so we kind of play with that to interrogate a dynamic that happened at the end of the first book and deal with weird timey-wimey stuff. And we basically just go on a quest with all of our characters, and you get to do a lot of world hopping, and I thought that was fun. I do enjoy our character that's introduced here, Cora. I think she's fantastic, fat representation. So Cora's cool. I know she has a book later on with her world. Don't know if it's a prequel or not. Like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't think that's a part of the series that I'm enjoying. Because we'll get into that with the next book. But this book, with the friendships, with Christopher, with Coro, with, I think his name's Cade, like, I really enjoy a lot of that. Yeah. And like, I think part of what's also can be difficult is the whole purpose is that these people had gone to Portal Fantasies and they got kicked out of their perfect worlds and they're all hoping to go back, and sometimes people do get to go back. But then my friendships are broken up, so I'm sad even though I should be happy for them, you know? Anyways, and now we're on the fourth one, In an Absent Dream. And this is, again, like a prequel. Like, so this is for a character we meet in the first book who's older. And so this is like the past. Like, she's in school in the 60s and 70s and finds her door. Now, this world, easily the coolest so far. Probably the world that I would do the best and worst in, because it's a goblin market and it's all about rules and like, not, I don't know, fair trades. Like, I'm all about fairness and rules and like, I don't know. So potentially that's part of why I like it. But also, again, I'm a little distracted because I know what happens to this character because I've read the first book. So I'm like... Now, in some ways, I am curious enough about the journey of how we get to where we meet the character in the first book, and I'm not as distracted by that character's ending because it wasn't as plot important. With Jack and Jill, like, the plot of that first book is very tied to what happens in Jack and Jill's book. So one spoils the other, and I think the spoiling is worse if you read in publication order. So I'm halfway through this one. I'm enjoying it. I think it has some interesting magic and world-building elements, especially, like, I feel like a lot of the parents have been pretty boring at this point, but the father in this story I think is kind of interesting. But they are still kind of the standard, like, very removed parent figures. They're not as involved as they should be. And how we're told about them is, again, in this, like, voiceover sort of mode. So do I love this series? No. Is it like catnip on my commute in terms of like making me feel like I'm finishing something? Like within 2 work days, I finish a novella with my work commute and it's easy to listen to. Like no brain cells are really required. Yes. And they're almost all available at my library instantly. So that's cool. I am going to pause after the first 4 because then I will have accomplished what I meant to for the project that I'm doing. But I might go back and like read the other ones one day, maybe for a different project, or maybe when I really do need just audiobooks to keep me company. So yeah, that's been an interesting experiment. Things that I'm almost done with. Seasons of Glass and Iron. This is so good. I got into an impromptu buddy read with Evie, and I got so excited. I don't remember where I left off last time, and like honestly, all of these stories are so good. I wish I was better at poetry. There is poetry in here. If like you're someone who like wants some poetry. There's some poetry in here. Let's see. What has... There's also... I have a hot take. This cover has like a wolf and a bunny or something like that. It should be birds. There are too many birds in this book for there to not be birds on this cover. I haven't met a bunny once. Maybe it's one of the last 2 stories. But I haven't met a bunny. I've met like 20 birds. And actually, speaking of birds, this is where Evie and I had the most disagreement. A Tale of Ash and 7 Birds is like one of my favorites for a couple reasons. One, it was easy to understand. It was accurate in its biology, so that's 2. 3, musical references, more than a few, some that are obvious and some that are more subtle, and I enjoyed all of those. And yeah, I found it fairly cathartic and didn't overstay its welcome. There's so many pretty ones. A Hollow Play. Oh, that one was a lot. Just, they're all so good. Some don't make as much sense as others, but like, I really enjoy a lot of these. So I have 2 left, and I am excited for all of you to get your hands on this. There is an audiobook. I would have had this finished for this video, because I got the audiobook for the last 2 stories, because I've been eyeball reading all of this. And I tried, and it's like, nope. Not gonna work on my commute this morning, and I'm not gonna ruin my reading experience just to get it done for a video. So next Friday reads, I will tell you I have read the last 2 stories, and it was a banger, because that's presumably the only way this can go. But this is probably one of the first 4.5 to 5-star short story collections that I've read in a while. I love how short it is. And like, her craft as a short story author is fantastic. And the variety you get in here while still having a high quality consistency And although these stories, I wouldn't say have a cohesive theme connecting all of them, although in her introduction, she does attempt to, like, connect some things. They're just stories written throughout her life. It's just, like, her short story kind of journal entries and diaries throughout the years. Some she's commissioned for, some she's not. And there is just such a consistency in quality and engagement. Even if you can go from stories that are on the nose, blatant, to stories that I'm like, I don't know what happened there. Because if you've read This Is How You Lose the Time War, you know that her writing style can get very ethereal and like, I don't know what you're saying. And there is some of that in here. And then there's sometimes just like standard revenge witch stories, or there's like a fairy tale story. And the themes are just going to resonate. So if you like short stories, I highly recommend. If you want to get into short stories, I think this is a good collection. So that's a thing. I'm almost done with it. And I guess if you can't tell, this is an arc. I got this arc from Tor a while ago, probably. You know, my biases and opinions are all my own. All right, so next up, what am I reading? Memories of Ice. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but I'm making good progress. And like, honestly, Memories of Ice is like really good. I think when I first read Memories of Ice, I was trying to finish it within a month. And I was starting to feel fatigued because I had just been reading Gardens of Moon and Deadhouse Gates in a month. And I remember like the dissonance of like, this is so cool, and I'm falling asleep reading this because there's so many sentences. Like, I know I read and there's a lot of sentences and everything, but Malazan, it feels like there's a lot of sentences. So doing like a book a month with my slow, chill buddy read with my friends has been great because book 3 has The Siege, and it's like really good. It's like really easy and good, and the world building drops. It's like, it's almost like a tease, because it's like, I know there's a lot of things introduced here that I'm not getting payoff for a minute. Like, after this book, I have to wait for bone hunters to get back to this continent. Now, granted, I am excited to get into House of Chains and give it a better shake than I did my first time. And I do love Midnight Tides, but like, it's good. It's a good time. So I've been reading that. I don't have many more thoughts for Wait For It. I'm very early days because I'm putting more of my reading time into Memories of Ice, but that's still there. I'm like 20% into Wait For It. And then the book that I need to spend more time with, and the struggle is that it's a proper noun issue, and maybe it's a slight author writing style issue. I don't know, but I got These Burning Stars, and I just got it from the library because I don't know. I wanted to hold it. I wanted to hold the book. I'm about 100 pages in, I believe, and I think my issues are that I don't have a lot of physical reading time right now. I'm going to blame that on me. I don't have a lot. And I like immersion reading this. I like the audio narrator. So my immersion reading time is even less than my physical reading time because I don't immersion read in bed because I don't like having headphones in when I'm in bed. That's just a me thing. So that limits it. I tried to listen to just the audio of this, and the proper noun game was it was too much for me, and I was just not paying attention enough. So I think the writing style really will benefit from my eyes being on the page. I'm getting a little more grounded with the world and the why and the what, but truly I just need to sit down and read like 30 to 50 pages in a sitting. Like, I just need to like sit down in it and get some momentum going. So I don't have many new thoughts since last time, because I really have maybe only read 20 more pages since the last time I checked in. So yeah, that's currently where we're at there. And then, like I said, we went to Detroit last weekend to see the Bruins play the Red Wings, and that was very fun. And there is a bookstore. I think this is it Midtown or Middletown, Detroit? It's called Sources. I think I have a bookmark here. Yes, Source Bookseller. And so this is a nonfiction specialty bookstore. It had a tiny shelf in the corner where it sold fiction books, but otherwise it was all nonfiction by different category. They even had like a nonfiction children's like picture book section. They had a puzzle section. And so the reason why I bought 2 books is, one, I found a fiction book that I have been seeing on all of my bookstore journeys, and I'm just like, I should just get this. Like, I just should get this book. And that is the newest Tochi Onibuchi fiction. I know there's been a nonfiction by him, and I know maybe I should have bought that at the nonfiction bookstore. I didn't see it, but also I read the first page of this, and this just gives me like Algiers inspired Blade Runner 2049 fantasy sci-fi stuff. Like, I don't know, like it's noirish, it's urbanish, It's got Tochi's writing, and it's only 200 some pages, which I do better with his style in short amounts. And so now I have it. You know, like, I've been thinking about reading this for so long, and now I don't have an excuse because it's going to be on the TBR, the grand old TBR for future me. And then in a nonfiction bookstore, I was like, I have to buy nonfiction, right? And I'm not very good at browsing nonfiction. I'm not in the know. I am curious about a lot of things, but I don't normally read nonfiction that often. I'm sure being someone who watches my channel, you're not shocked at this. I read like a handful a year. I used to read more back when there was a nonfiction book club online. But I did pick this one up because this is a beautiful cover. Let's just start there. This is a stunning cover. It's called Practicing New Worlds, Abolition and Emergent Strategies. So I am already someone who's like, yes, tell me more about abolition. You don't even have to convince me that much. Like, I have had a family member have to be in different federal prisons specifically, and it's atrocious, okay? And I know exactly what that person did, and I know exactly, you know, why we were punishing them, but it never felt balanced, and it always seemed like, Jesus Christ, for the amount of money we spend, we are treating people worse than animals. I really hate the prison system. But I don't actually have a strong idea of what I would replace it with. I am not in law and justice. And so this seems more like a book that is meant to be like, introduce abolition. I'm sure that's at the start of it. But then also talk about strategies and imagining things. And like, I definitely was getting more onto this mindset when I was reading We Will Rise Again, the anthology I read at the end of last year. And what's cool about this is, I don't know if you can tell on the screen, but it has both reading sections and like activity sections that are grayer pages. So it's more like an activity nonfiction book. So I was curious about it, and the cover was stunning. So that is what I've done. So I got both of these from Sources. Is that what it's called? Source Bookseller? Source Booksellers, which is like, check your sources. I really like that. It won 2025 Bookstore of the Year by Publishers Weekly. That's cool. And like I said, it's in Detroit on Cass Avenue. So if you're curious about it, I recommend it. It was really lovely. Knowledgeable staff, all that stuff, good environment. And it's near like a bunch of cafes. Like, there was a cafe we went to beforehand, and it was like a 10-minute walk from this cool food court beer place called the Shipping Company. So if you're in the Detroit area, it's worth an afternoon, I feel. So that's what I'm reading, doing, watching. Watching figure skating. We have started Pluribus. Should I talk about Pluribus? I don't even know how you talk about Pluribus. I have a love-hate relationship with the first episode of Pluribus. Is it eye-catching? Correct. But as a scientist, it is frustrating. And I don't really know how to talk about it because I don't want to spoil Pluribus. But let's just say that in no universe should we have gotten here on so many levels. Like, it's the equivalent of clicking a link in a text message that says you owe money on your car insurance. That is not how things work. Like, that's how it feels to me. Like, there were so many steps in which we did the most dumb, stupid thing, but that's okay. Like, I kind of wish we just started with episode 2, because like episode 1 is like, it's good TV, but it stressed me out and was like annoying my brain. Episode 2, thing I really liked is the cultural depth we're bringing to the questions. And I'm being vague, but there are some fascinating questions this show is bringing forth. And I really like that our main character, who is American, is being challenged by people from different cultural backgrounds. And I still don't even really know where I land, because also as an American, my instincts do align a little bit with her. But I also like, you know, I like that it's acting nuanced. Whether it stays that way, we've only watched 2 episodes. This is not very much a marathon show for us, because like, we watch an episode and we're like, that was a lot. Okay, let's do something else now. So that's the main TV show. And then figure skating. Figure skating. So excited. And we're going to see Project Hail Mary this weekend. I've already read the book, so I don't feel like I'll be spoilered, even though I don't remember the ending of the book. Like, I remember the gist. You know, I am so happy that Rocky's in the trailer. Because when I tell you, if you're new here, you don't know this, but I was so exhausted when people were reading Project Hail Mary, talking about like, and then my favorite part's this thing you can't talk about. And I'm like, no, you can talk about it. You can talk about an alien in a science fiction book in space. We can talk about it. That is not a spoiler. Like, if it's a spoiler, no, it's not a spoiler. Like, there's so many sci-fi books behind me. Sometimes they have aliens, some of them don't have aliens. So I'm glad it's in the trailer, so we don't have to deal with that conversation again. And I'm really excited about the special effects that they're using for Rocky. So anyways, I keep trying to end this video and I keep going on tangents, and all I want to do is go watch figure skating. So if you don't want to tell me what you're reading, doing, watching, and you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave something burning or a star, so maybe I'll get to this book. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.